Hello everyone, my name is Vesper Kari, and it is a pleasure to meet with you today. I have thoughts to share. I don't know if you watched the trailer for 28 Years Later, but that, my friends, is a good. No, that's a great trailer. You see this guy and his kid going from some kind of commune into the forest, looking like they're scavenging or something and coming across infected. All the while, Taylor Holmes performs her epic reading of Boots by Rudyard Kipling. It's all just chef's kiss. It is wonderfully eerie, and just the sound design itself is enough to put you on edge, and honestly, pumped up for a new 28 Later movie after so long. So, having watched that trailer, I did what I do and waited until the very last minute to be able to watch it in theaters with a minimal amount of people to wade through, and I can honestly say that I loved the movie. I thought it was fantastic. What a superb, not zombie movie. I was completely invested in what was happening. The characters had proper human reactions to what was happening around them and to them, and it kept me tense the whole time. Ooh, I loved it. It was so good. That is, until about a third of the way through, when it decided to become a completely different movie, and I was hit by whiplash so hard I had no idea which direction I was supposed to be looking at. I am recording this because I need a way to sort through my thoughts about the movie. I am not entirely sure what I watched, if it was presented as intended, or if something went horribly, awfully wrong partway through. Maybe my brain misinterpreted every single thing I witnessed. I honestly have no idea. I really don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. Just a heads up, I'll be talking about the entirety of the movie, even if briefly. So if you're planning on watching it and don't want to know anything about it beforehand, then please stop here, go and watch it for yourself first, and then come back to my little rant if you so desire. I do recommend you watch it for yourself, but I won't stop you either way, and if you just want to skip to the conclusion, then please go to whatever time is on screen right now. Ready or not, woo! Here we go. Our story begins in some little town with a bunch of kids watching an episode of the Teletubbies. It turns out that what is actually happening is that the rage virus made it to their home, and the infected barge into the room with the kids and proceed to slaughter all of them, except for one Jimmy, who ended up behind the door when they came in and thus missed entirely. He ran out and into the nearby chapel to look for his father, the priest. Jimmy's father is having a great time, looking forward to the horde of rabid infected heading their way, calling it salvation, because, of course he is. The infected break in through the doors and the stained glass that you can check out in the trailer, and Jimmy hides until they all leave the chapel and then runs out to be removed from the movie. What a wonderful opening to a post-apocalyptic zombie-type movie. You don't even need to watch 28 days or weeks to know what's going on. They gave you a basic rundown of all you needed to know in those few minutes, and I applaud the movie for giving us such a fine opening scene. Much like the one for 28 Weeks, which I seem to recall quite often. It was so good. The movie then cuts to 28 years later, to a 12-year-old boy waking up in his bed and getting ready for some kind of big day. My immediate thought was, oh, Jimmy made it and had a kid. That's nice. But the movie quickly corrected me by showing the father, and his hair and eye color were completely different from Jimmy's. So never mind, my mistake. Now, believe you me when I say that father here is easily and by far the best character in this movie. I wish I remembered his name, but I don't. Something with a J, let's see here. Google informs me that his name is Jamie. Nope, I'm gonna end up calling him Jimmy, so I'll just call him Father from here on out. The big day that is happening that morning is some kind of rite of passage to adulthood for the children of their little survivor town, in which when a child turns 14 or 15, they cross over to the mainland in the company of a parent or a guardian to kill their first infected. Cool! That's awesome! I dig it. Sounds reasonable enough too. Get them started early and harden them up to the violence and grotesqueries of the outside world for when they get older and need to go out and hunt and scavenge, or maybe even if they figure out how to get to their town and need to defend it. This is some good stuff for your plot, my friends. Yes, I am in. As they're getting ready, we are introduced to Spike's mother. Yes, the kid's name is Spike, like the vampire sired by Drusilla, which is the only reason I remember his name without having to ask Google about it. His mother is screaming like a raving lunatic from her bed upstairs. Father sighs, letting us know that this is clearly a common occurrence, and tells Spike to finish his breakfast while he tends to his mother. Now, please pay very close attention to this interaction, for it will be of utmost importance later on. Spike goes upstairs to see his father calmly talking his wife down from her episode, and doing a good job of it, mind you, then informs her that Spike won't be going to school today because he'll be taking him to the mainland for his rite of passage. To which his wife's response is to endlessly berate and insult him, screaming profanities at him for his efforts, which he does his best to take in stride, and continues to comfort her. Google informs me that her name is Isla, but I shall refer to her as Mother, for I know I will call her Isla instead every single time, and it'll be a whole thing I don't want to deal with. Whatever is wrong with Mother involves having a volatile mood, general weakness, constant bouts of pain, and a short-term memory of about, 30 seconds or so. Meaning that when they manage to calm her down again, she has now completely forgotten the previous interaction and asks Spike where he's going. And this right here is the really important part. Spike lies to her and says he's going to school to avoid going through that whole conversation again. Spike lied to his mother because it was easier when his father did not lie to her. That is what you need to remember for the test, my friends. Oh, woo! Oh, I am getting the emotions again. Woo! Okay, calm down. I'm cool. Let's move on. Father and Spike get permission to leave town, even though Spike is younger than usual, and they walk across the tiny patch of land that parts the sea and is only accessible during the low tide. I like the scene in particular because it shows the confidence that both Father and the town leader, Jenny, Google informs me, have in Spike's skills, reasoning, and maturity. They're like, yeah, you don't need to wait another 3 years for this, you're good, son, go, have at it. What follows is Father very meticulously walking Spike through the forest, showing him what to look for in the way of sounds, wildlife, marks on the ground, that type of thing, that would warn him that there are infected nearby. It doesn't take them long to come across a slow one that crawls on the ground, and Father uses the opportunity to give Spike a quick lecture about those specific infected, how they move, how dangerous they are when compared to the fast ones, and what he needs to do to kill them quickly and efficiently. Father's instructions were so clear and concise that even I felt like I was learning how to survive in this world. It is delightful world building that isn't out of place, and I am absolutely loving everything about this so far. So Spike kills that slow infected, making it his first kill, and they briefly celebrate before another slow one sneaks up behind Father, but he notices just in time to shoot it down, and Spike stops him from shooting a child-looking one and gives it a chance to escape. Having watched horror movies before, I know that leaving the small ones alive is the worst thing you can possibly do, so I filed that bit of info away for it to become a problem later. Spoiler, it doesn't. It would have if this movie went in a different direction, but Father and Spike go into a house nearby where they come across an infected tied up and hanging upside down with a sack covering its head. It has the name Jimmy carved across the chest and stomach, which made me think that the hanging infected was Jimmy, that kid from earlier, and he had done something atrocious which caused his fellow survivors to tie him up and leave him there for the infected. I was honestly impressed that the movie would do that and would leave what he did a mystery for the audience to ponder about later, but I was clearly thinking way too hard about things and far too excited about where this movie was going. More on that later. Father tells Spike that the mainland is full of crazies and that he needs to put the fellow in front of them out of his misery. Spike is terrified by this and gives the infected more than enough time to free himself, and Father is forced to come to the rescue. On their way back, they stumble upon the corpse of a deer with its head hanging from a tree, which Father explains was most likely killed by what they call alphas, the bigger, stronger, better versions of the fast infected. Meaning that they should get back to the town right now before it decides to show up again in case it's still in the area, because they definitely do not want to go up against something like that. Steaks! Very good, we like steaks. They make for some good adventure. As they're heading back, they see the alpha and a bunch of fast infected further up where they're going, and they all start running towards Father and Spike, so they turn around and head back toward the house. As they're running away, Father keeps yelling out instructions for Spike to follow, but Spike is so terrified at this point that he completely misses his shots, and Father is forced to shoot them instead. They keep running and try again, but Spike misses again, and Father continues to correct and encourage him while he shoots down the one Spike couldn't. They get back to the house and decide that their best bet is to hide in the attic. Father boosts him up, but has to let him go to shoot down infected that followed them upstairs, and then Spike crashes on top of him, and here I was going to be absolutely miffed if they decided to sacrifice Father to get Spike up into the attic, but fortunately that didn't happen, so for now, crisis averted. In the attic now, catching their breath, they can see the Alpha off in the distance waiting for them. Spike looks out the other side of the house and notices smoke far away and asks his father what that is. He tells him that it's a fire, but that, as far as he knows, there's no other town that way, and he's never even been over there, so he doesn't know exactly what it is other than a fire. It is obvious here that he is lying, and probably for good reason, so tuck that away for later, my friends. At this point, I'm thinking, oh, awesome! The Alpha's not going anywhere, so they'll be forced to go further in and mingle with the locals. Nice. But no, that's crazy talk. That would be something that happens in movies, and that is not what we're here for, or where we are. And that being said, this is where the movie ends! Yay! Whoop whoop! We did it, guys! What a great movie. Roll credits. That was amazing. 9 out of 10. What a quality movie. Highly recommended. Some top shelf zombie apocalypse stuff. From here on out, the movie proceeds to lose all logic, cleverness, and becomes an absurd mockery of itself. I would say I was sad. Very sad, in fact, except that while I was watching, I could only feel bewilderment, as everything I had just witnessed was truly quality stuff, until it wasn't. But hey, please join me further along into this entirely new movie that we're watching now. The house that Father and Spike are hanging out in collapses, and they're forced out sometime during the night. They take a gander and don't see the Alpha anywhere, so they decide to trek back into town, since the tide should still be barely low enough for them to walk across. They're close enough now to feel safe again, until they hear the Alpha running towards them across the sea. They run for their lives towards town, and the guards shoot down the Alpha behind them, and Father and Spike are let back inside, victorious. Cut to the whole town celebrating their return, and Father recounting the tales of his son's heroics to cheers and celebration from all the villagers. Spike is clearly uncomfortable with the attention, but he tries to enjoy the party anyway. Sometime during the night, Father sneaks out with a lady friend, and Spike follows them out where he sees them being extremely friendly. Spike gets miffed and goes back home, where he has a brief talk with Grandpa? I don't know who that person actually was, but let's just call him Grandpa. It doesn't really matter who he is. I don't even need to Google for this. Spike complains at him that his father is lying to everyone because he actually missed most of his shots and he was afraid the whole time, but he's making him out to sound like a hero. And then he tells them that they saw a fire, and Grandpa goes, "Oh, I guess old Kessler's still alive." Kessler? Nope. Google says it is Kelson. My bad. I'll probably just call him Doctor anyway. So Grandpa lets Spike know that the guy that makes the fire is an old doctor, but that he will say no more, since his father didn't think it was a good idea to let him know in the first place. Good job, Grandpa. What a guy. And this is where the test comes in, my friends. For some reason, at this very moment in time, after having been only introduced as a character trait just a few minutes ago back in the party, Spike decides that he now has a huge, no, enormous problem with lies, and has decided to become an unlikable, insufferable character from here on out. He is done being mature and dependable for his age. Nope, none of that. No more. He is done. Spike starts saying that his father is a liar, and he always lies, and all he does is lie all the time to everybody. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, sweet child, you were literally the first person in this movie to lie, remember? You didn't want to deal with your crazy mother, so you lied to her face because it was easier. And there's a huge difference between lying to avoid giving you false hope, in the case of the fire and the doctor, or lying to boost morale and camaraderie, as in during the celebration, and lying because you can't be bothered to even try to reason with someone that will forget what you said in 5 seconds. Woo! 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 Okay. Okay. Alright. Very good. This is good. We're doing great, guys. We're doing good. Also, Spike is now but a dumb child, so he is incapable of cutting his father some slack, for if he even attempted to make love to his wife in her current condition, he would basically have to force her, since she'd most likely forget what they're doing a few seconds in, and nobody wants that. Not him, not her, not anyone, not even Spike, but he is currently a silly child. Whew. Anyway, the next morning, Spike tells his father that he heard that a doctor lived by the fire, so father proceeds to tell him what he knows. That as far as he's concerned, the man is insane, because he got to see him once many years ago, and he had collected hundreds of corpses and laid them out in the field all nice and tidy, and when he had noticed father and his friends, he had smiled and waved happily at them. So, father and his group, now properly spooked, ran away and never approached him again. Spike tells his father that he lied about the doctor because he thinks he wants his wife to die, because if she did, then he'd be free to stay with his lady friend that he was with last night. Father rightfully slaps him, and Spike runs upstairs to his mother's room. Father follows him, and Spike, the little turd that he now is, pulls his pocket knife on him. Father easily disarms him, folds the knife closed, and as calmly as he is able, hands it back to his son. Spike tells him to go away and leave them alone, so father turns around, punches the wall behind him, and leaves the house. Mind you, he could have easily done that to Spike's face. He could have smashed his teeth in, all of them. But he did not. All in all, father showed some downright majestic restraint in that scene. Next thing we know, Spike has set fire to the town's general store to force the guards to leave their post so he can take his ill, unstable mother to the mainland in search of Dr. Kelson. Este imbécil ya se cree Superman y ni se puede hacer de desayunar él solo, el pobre estúpido animal, bestia salvaje. The mainland that he barely managed to escape from in the company of his capable Rambo-level father. Woo! Woo! Whew. I'm thinking to myself, this is the most stupid 12-year-old boy plan I have ever heard in my life. But, okay, whatever. You know what? Logic got thrown out the window a while ago, so let's go. Spike and his mother are on the mainland now, and mother starts freaking out when she realizes where they are, but remember, nothing matters because she is immediately reassured, and they continue further in. They stop for the night in some house that they come across, and Spike declares that he will take watch to immediately fall asleep, for he is but a feeble child, and his mother has to save him from one of the slow infected that had plenty of time to crawl up to him, using her brute strength and sneaky skills. Oh. The next morning, they head back out, and the fast infected very slowly creeps up behind Mother, somehow without anyone noticing, and Spike shoots it down with a straight face. I am no expert, but I'm fairly certain that's not how that works. In my experience, when something seems to be done easily and efficiently, a fear conquered, let us say, there is much time and or practice behind it. It doesn't happen from one night to the next morning just like that. But, you know what? Whatever. Who cares? I don't care. Spike is a badass now. Sure. Deal with it. I'm down. Let's do this. A bunch more of them show up and they run away towards a Shell gas station, which has adorably lost the S on the signage. That's cute, movie. You're cute. They break in and the shop is filled to the brim with some bright blue gas that looks like an effect pulled straight from the Beetleborgs, if you remember that show, and the scene turns into an episode of Looney Tunes with Spike and Mom stumbling around going, "Whoa, this is gas! Whoa, what's going on? crashing against everything inside, then the infected going after them and also start going, wow, there's so much gas in here, and trip over everything, and it's shot as if it were slapstick comedy. That goes on for a minute, 10 minutes, I have no idea how long that scene was. I was sitting there in disbelief, but then a skylight opens and someone shoots into the gas station, causing the gas to ignite above Spike and Mother, and burning the infected to a crisp. Is that how gas works? I have no idea, but it doesn't matter at this point. It really doesn't. Let's go. The armed fellow introduces himself as Eric, a marine that crashed into the island and is now stranded there. Eric here, and I do actually remember his name from when I watched the movie, because he is the second best character in my opinion, for he represents me, specifically. I am Eric. Hello, my name is Eric. Eric casually points out how everything that Spike and Mother are doing is downright asinine, and yet he is the bigger idiot for sticking with them for so long. They carry on further into the mainland, and somehow, for no reason, they lose sight of Mother, and she walks over to a train, following the sounds of an infected. Like a genius. Why anyone would do that, I have no idea. As far as I knew, Mother was ill, not foolish, but here we are regardless. Inside, she finds an infected in labor, so she approaches her and holds her hands to help her through the labor. In the meantime, Spike and Eric finally catch up to her, and Eric rightly screams at her that she's being stupid, but Mother will not be persuaded, and she basically helps the infected give birth to this child, and then the infected immediately tries to eat them, for she is an infected. Eric shoots her down, as one needs to do, and he continues to be the sole voice of reason, but as he dared to suggest they dump the baby, had to be promptly ejected from the movie by an alpha that may or may not be the same one as last time, since they all seem to look exactly the same. Rest in peace, Eric. Your logic will be sorely missed. Spike and Mother are saved from the Alpha by the very doctor they have been searching for. They follow him back to his bonfire, and he explains that for 30 years, he has been basically honoring the dead by incinerating them and using their skulls and bones to build a gigantic memorial in the forest, which is in the trailer, by the way, in case you want to take a look at it, along with most of the first third of this movie. Spike asks the doctor to check his mother to see what's wrong with her, and he does, letting them know that his best guess is that she has some kind of very bad, very terminal cancer. He says it's so advanced that he has no idea if it started in her brain or in her body, and that she will most definitely, absolutely die soon, and there is literally nothing anyone can do to save her. Spike freaks out at the news and begs him to save his mother, so Mother steps in to try and calm him down by letting him know that she thought she had cancer, but she didn't want to tell Spike, so she just kind of kept waiting for someone else to tell him, but no one ever did, so she didn't tell him either, and at this point, I am losing my absolute mind at how absolutely idiotic this all is. I mean, does nobody tell this kid anything? Somebody could have let Spike know what cancer is. I mean, he's 12. Somebody in town had to catch some kind of cancer in the 12 years of his existence. I mean, nobody? That sounds impossible. Somebody let this kid know what's going on. But then, the doctor proceeds to shoot Spike with one of his sedative blow darts, which he used previously to stop the Alpha coming after them, to calm the kid down. And Mother continues her absurd little speech, telling him that she will always love him, and then she leaves the baby with him because, oh yeah, they're still carrying the baby around, and Doctor shoots her with his sedatives, and I'm thinking, these guys need to stop wasting the doctor's good drugs, man. Who even knows where he's getting them all from? It's been 30 years now. Now sedated, Mother takes a nice, relaxing dip into the incinerator, and then Doctor comes back with her skull and gives it to Spike, telling him to find the nice spot. No, 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 no. Find the best spot for her in his monument. So Spike, as calm as a monk, takes his mother's skull and climbs to the very top of the doctor's pile of skulls and places her there, and while he's up there, the sun rises and he decides to turn the skull towards it, and this heartwarming moment, and I know that he's drugged, but the way it was shot had perfect comedic timing, and I wish someone would have let me know an hour ago that we were ditching the movie we started with and going in a completely different direction, because then I could have at least prepared myself, and you know what? I would have been down for a comedy. I would have been great. I mean, yeah, let's do this comedy, man. We're done with the serious business. Let's get some humor up in this. What actually happens is that the Alpha breaks through the ground next to the gate with his arm and grabs Doctor, and I'm thinking, oh great, I guess we have to eject the Doctor from the movie now too, since the most innocent and well-intentioned person in this whole island. But no, I've clearly had no idea what this movie has been thinking from the get-go, because I've been imagining all these different movies and none of them are what's on screen. And Spike takes one of the sedative darts from the Doctor's pouch and stabs the Alpha in the arm with it. Now, with that crisis averted, the Doctor tells Spike that he needs to go back home now. That was exciting. Talk about anticlimactic. Oh. Next, we cut to Spike walking toward town with the baby in a little Target shopping basket, encountering no problems or hiccups whatsoever on his trek back. He makes it to the gate and leaves the baby basket hanging on a tree outside the town, and we get a voiceover of Spike reading a letter he left for his father in the basket. He basically says that he'll come back to the town when he is ready, that he needs to see what's out there for himself. This 12-year-old boy that I hope knows how to survive in the wilderness for extended periods of time, how to kindle a fire, how to hunt, how to keep warm and cool in the elements. You know, whatever. I don't care. But even then, immediately after reading the letter, Father runs to the gates in hopes of stopping his son from doing something so brainless. His son that threatened him with a knife. His son that basically kidnapped his mother and took her out to the most dangerous place imaginable. His son that set fire to the town's warehouse because he couldn't think of a better way to distract the guards. He still ran in hopes of stopping him from doing something so utterly insane. But alas, he was too late, and his son was long gone. We then cut to Spike 28 days later, cooking a fish over a fire out in the wilderness somewhere when an infected approaches him, and remember, it's been a whole 28 days, so Spike is now a seasoned man vs. wild certified badass, so he shoots it down. Easiest thing he's ever done. More approach, so he runs away, shooting more down, until he hits a dead end. And then the movie has the audacity to begin a sequel bait right here by reintroducing Jimmy. Jimmy, the little kid from the beginning of the movie that I thought was the guy hanging upside down, and I thought the movie had some amazing courage for doing that, but no. Jimmy is here now with his fellow other Jimmys, all wearing the brightest tracksuits they could find, and they proceed to beat up the infected coming after Spike with golf clubs and martial arts movies and in a straight up 100% action comedy scene, and I am just sitting there with my mouth agape and my mind with my eyes wide in disbelief that someone, many people in fact, approved, authorized this to be part of the movie 28 years later. Whoa! Whoa! Jimmy! Jimmy, bless his heart, then tells Spike that they should team up, and the credits finally roll. Oh no! No, I can't stop laughing. No! Now, if the entire movie had been a mediocre disaster, then I wouldn't have had much of a problem. I would have just gone, oh, that was a bad, silly movie. What a waste of money. Hardy har har. R.I.P. the 28 Later series. Ha 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 ha. The problem was that the first 33% of it was good. It was very good. They could have just rolled the credits right after and called it a short, and I would have been fine with that. I would have been great. Well worth the money, I say. But it just took a nosedive right after and kept getting worse and worse until it became utterly ridiculous. Not the good kind of ridiculous either, more of the, I can't believe this is happening, what happened, where did we go wrong kind. Oh, I need a drink. Water, just water. I've been speaking for a while. This has been parched. It's awful. Ah! That was 28 years later. In conclusion, just watch the trailer and call it a movie. No, really, actually. Wait for it to be released for streaming. It might actually already be there, I have no idea. I am perpetually late to the party, so it probably won't even be in theaters anymore by the time I release this video anyway. But if you really want to, that first part really is worth watching in theaters, if you still can. Just a heads up about the tonal shift. Movies don't really make me angry, per se. Being angry because of a movie would be silly of me, but I am feeling something, and I think it's not anger, it's not rage, it's something closer to, I think the best way to describe it is to quote the great philosopher Report of the Week. My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. Thank you for listening to me vent my frustrations. I'll get over it, I'm sure. Soon, in fact. I do feel much better now, having thrown words at you for however long this has been. Again, I do highly recommend a third of this movie, so do please at least watch that if you're planning on it. Don't let me dissuade you, especially since it's quite possible you'll enjoy it just fine. If I've learned anything throughout the years, it's that there's an audience for everything, and most times, I am not the intended audience. What I'm saying is, if you enjoy something, then please really enjoy it. Don't feel like you have to justify your taste in things, especially to somebody on the internet. I mean, it's a person on the internet, who cares? The only reason you need to like something is that you like it. Just like something because you like it. That's it. Trust me, I love various things that I would never recommend to anyone. They're so bad. So don't let people decide what you enjoy. Like, even if you know that what you like is hot garbage, then go all in and enjoy that hot garbage, my friend. Please let me know if you've also watched 28 Years Later. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Are you neutral about it? No particularly strong feelings either way? Did I miss something? That's entirely possible too. Perhaps my expectations were merely not what the movie was going for. Maybe I was just expecting the movie that I saw in the trailer. But the trailer was so good! Speaking of boots, no one's speaking about boots, but it was in the trailer, so it reminded me. During the previews, they showed a trailer for another movie called The Long Walk, and I kept wondering if they were beating themselves up for not thinking to use that poem for their own movie first. Maybe they'll still do it, I don't know. I mean, Boots is quite literally about slowly going insane from endless marching, and I think that would be perfect for them since their movie seems to be all about walking until you die. That would be perfect, I think. Maybe they'll still do it, who knows. I have nothing else to say about Long Walk, it was just a thought that I had. I haven't watched it, it's not out yet. It looks interesting, I'll probably take a look. Anyway, I wasn't really planning on talking about this movie or even making a video about it, but I just had to. I had to. There was nothing I could do about it. My fate was sealed. In case it wasn't painfully obvious before, this was not a review by any means. I am just some lady on the internet with opinions that matter to me, and mostly only me. But I wanted to share some of them with you today. This was but a silly video, and I hope I was able to provide some enjoyment with it. I have no idea if I'll be doing something like this again, but thank you, again, for making it this far and braving through all of that with me. I will see you next time. Have fun, my friends.